I'm curious what the readout of this meeting meant to you and what the lesson was.
Well, it was a really good conversation with the president yesterday with leaders from the private sector, and really two themes. One is the extraordinary achievements to date, and the second is the work we still have to do. Let me dwell on the first for a minute, because if you were looking at the headlines a couple of months ago, they were saying every shelf would be empty, Christmas was ruined, basically canceled, and you look at what's actually happened. Shelves are stocked. You look at Walmart, Target, they're talking about having more inventory now than they did a year ago. Ports on the West Coast, for example, the ones we've been so concerned about, moving a record number of goods, about 15% more than their all-time high. National Retail Federation predicting the best year ever for holiday sales. So a lot has gone right thanks to the leadership of the administration, thanks to the leadership in the private sector that got creative about how to get things done. And of course, maybe most importantly of all, thanks to a lot of essential workers who never had the option of coming into work by Zoom, getting it done, whether it's at the ports or the truck drivers on the road or in the warehouses, making it possible. That's not to say we haven't had issues in terms of pressure on prices, in terms of shipping timing, but if you look at the big picture, it's extraordinary what has been done in order to make sure that we've had the holiday season we have right now, where if you run out for some last-minute shopping, you're going to see the shelves are stocked. Now, having said that, this was not a mission accomplished moment because we've got a lot of work to do. Matter of fact, today, my department is announcing Port Infrastructure Development Plan program grants, about $240 million going to everywhere from Long Beach, one of the biggest ports in the country, about $50 million headed there to support capacity expansion, to places you don't think about a lot, like the Ohio River, Tell City, Indiana, where a crane can be installed that's going to help move traffic off of barges for about $1.5 million, and everything in between. That normally we wouldn't announce something this close to Christmas, but the president had a very specific port action plan saying, by this point in time, we need to get more of those dollars out the door. So we did that, and we're already getting next year's grants ready to announce probably in February the next round opening applications. And I'm just talking about one program, the port program, right. One of many programs we're going to have more dollars in, thanks to the president's bipartisan infrastructure law. So lots more work to do, but a lot to be proud of as we take stock of how we got here.
Let's talk about the work that needs to be done, Mr. Secretary, because one of the things that we are going to be confronting over the next several months, it appears, is Omicron and what that's going to do to potentially labor shortages. I wanted to ask you specifically about what Ed Bastian, who's the CEO of Delta, has recently said, which is that he has suggested that there be some new thinking around quarantine rules and the length of quarantine rules, in part because he's worried about a labor supply shortage. I believe he's thinking about that in the transportation sector in terms of airplanes. I imagine it will also impact all sorts of businesses, including at the ports and the like. Would you advocate for a rethink of quarantine rules?
Well, we're always going to take our cue from the CDC and start with what the public health leadership thinks is best for keeping the American people safe. But, certainly we need to continually reevaluate what we do in every part of our response to the pandemic, because the facts on the ground are changing in terms of there being vaccines that we mostly didn't have a year ago, therapies emerging, and also our knowledge of things changing. So between what's going on with the variants, what's going on with treatments, testing, and vaccinations, and what's going on in terms of our understanding of what mitigations are most effective, we should continually be revisiting what we do. And that's exactly what happens. In this administration, I sit on the COVID task force, where we're always looking at where we are compared to where we were and how to make sure the American people are safe. Now, some things are clear and they're not changing. And maybe the biggest among them is that we need to get as many people vaccinated as possible. And that includes getting those boosters so that people have maximum protection no matter what curveball is coming next.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.